You know their faces, you know their catchphrases. But did you know they once survived a visit to 1313 Mockingbird Lane before they were household names or icons of the silver screen? These stars were getting tangled up in Grandpa's experiments and Herman's high-voltage hijinks. And if escaping the Munsters wasn't enough, some of television's biggest future stars also found themselves shipwrecked on a tiny island in the middle of nowhere. Crossing paths with Gilligan, the skipper, and the rest of the castaways long before they became television legends. Today we're counting down 25 unforgettable guest stars who made memorable appearances on the Munsters and Gilligan's Island before fame made them household names. Some went on to become sitcom superstars, some became dramatic legends, and others conquered Hollywood. Let's set sail and take a spooky detour to see where it all began. Jesse White, Season 1, Episode 28, Movie Star Munster. Jesse White was best known to television audiences as the perpetually exasperated Maytag repairman and a master of flustered authority figures throughout the 1950s and 60s. But in this episode of The Munsters, he plays one half of a scheming producer who spots Herman and immediately sees dollar signs in a convenient insurance payout, conning Herman into believing he's destined for movie stardom. White's character tricks him into signing what he thinks is a film contract, but is really an insurance policy. What follows is slapstick gold. Herman unknowingly survives increasingly dangerous film stunts meant to finish him off. Naturally, the only people truly in danger are the crooked producers themselves, who end up victims of their own ridiculous traps. Louis Nye, Season 2, Episode 22, Eddie's TV Hero. Louis Nye was widely recognized as the nervously pompous straight man on the Steve Allen Show, forever flustered, forever formal, and always just a little out of his depth. But in this episode of The Munsters, he transforms into Zombo, the delightfully dramatic host of a late-night horror show who completely captures Eddie's imagination. Eddie idolizes Zombo, quoting him, mimicking him, and practically ignoring poor Herman in the process. When Eddie wins a studio visit to meet his spooky hero, Herman's jealousy kicks in. Determined to reclaim his status as Dad of the Year, Herman tries reinventing himself as a caped, booming TV ghoul. The result? Classic Munster chaos, proving that no one does lovable monster better than Herman. Richard Deacon, Season 1, Episode 5, Pike's Peak. Richard Deacon was best known as the dry, sharp-tongued authority figure Mel Cooley on The Dick Van Dyke Show, a master at playing bureaucrats who look permanently irritated. But in this early Munsters outing, he appears as one of the buttoned-up city officials, determined to push a new oil pipeline straight through 1313 Mockingbird Lane. The problem is that route runs directly beneath Grandpa's beloved laboratory. As city planners and utility men press forward, Herman and Lily try to handle the dispute diplomatically, while Grandpa plots theatrical revenge worthy of a mad scientist. Deacon's straight-faced delivery plays perfectly against the Munsters' supernatural normalcy, making the civic showdown feel like the most politely absurd zoning dispute in television history. Frank Gorshin, Season 2, Episode 28, Herman, the Tire Kicker. Frank Gorshin, later celebrated for his manic brilliance as the Riddler on Batman. Guest stars as Fair Deal Dan, a fast-talking used car salesman who swindles Herman. After receiving a bonus at work, Herman proudly decides to buy Marilyn a car so she won't have to ride the bus. Despite Grandpa's doubts, Herman purchases a flashy Chevrolet convertible from Dan's lot. The excitement quickly fades when the car literally falls apart in the Munsters' driveway, and worse, it turns out to be stolen. When Herman and Grandpa attempt to return it, Dan has disappeared. Nothing is left but a vacant lot. Herman is soon pulled over, mistaken for intoxicated, and arrested for possession of stolen property. In the end, Dan is brought in intoxicated, sees Herman, and promptly confesses. Harvey Korman, Season 2, Episode 25, Prehistoric Munster. Harvey Korman was best known for his brilliant work on The Carol Burnett Show, where his impeccable comic timing and exaggerated characters made him a sketch comedy legend. But in this delightfully oddball Munsters outing, he slips into the role of Professor Fogg in Spawn, enthusiastic and somewhat over-the-top anthropology professor who, along with his colleague, becomes convinced that Herman is a missing link after seeing a clay bust Marilyn made of him. What follows is a gleeful mix of academic pomposity, case of mistaken identity hijinks, and Herman's trademark clueless charm. Corman's performance leans into wild German accented delivery and grandiose theories, giving the episode an extra layer of absurdity as primitive Herman navigates being examined like a scientific curiosity. Alvy Moore, Season 1, Episode 20, Bats of a Feather. Alvy Moore, best known for playing County Agent Hank Kimball on Green Acres, guest stars as Dr. Grant, a government scientist overseeing an unusual space experiment. The chaos begins when Eddie chooses Grandpa's pet bat Igor for the school pet fair. After Igor flies off in a huff, Grandpa transforms himself into a bat to take his place. When Eddie trades Igor to classmate Timmy Brubaker, Grandpa is unknowingly taken to a Washington laboratory. There, Dr. Grant reveals plans to send the bat into space alongside a female bat as part of a research mission. Herman storms the lab to rescue Grandpa, but accidentally grabs the wrong bat, frightening Dr. Grant in the process. Eventually, Grandpa escapes on his own, and Igor returns, romantically interested in the spacebound bat. Billy Mummy, Season 1, Episode 25. Come back, little Googie. Billy Mummy, later famous for his role as Will Robinson on Lost in Space. Guest stars as Googie Miller, Eddie's mischievous friend who comes to stay for the weekend. At first, the Munster family is excited about the visit, but they quickly discover Googie is rude, disrespectful, and obsessed with pulling pranks. He targets Herman at dinner, then challenges Grandpa to turn him into a rabbit. After more troublemaking, Grandpa appears to transform Googie into a chimpanzee, but it's actually another one of Googie's elaborate practical jokes involving a pet store monkey. While Eddie is pressured to keep quiet, the chaos escalates until Googie's father arrives. In the end, the truth comes out, and the Munsters are relieved to see their troublesome guest finally head home. Paul Lynde, Season 1, Episode 19, Eddie's Nickname. Paul Lynde was best known as the delightfully mischievous Uncle Arthur on Bewitched, a master of sarcastic humor and perfectly timed facial expressions. But in this Munsters episode, he appears as Dr. Edward Dudley, the concerned pediatrician summoned to assess Eddie after Grandpa's magic milkshake potion goes awry. Eddie, upset about being teased at school as Shorty, hopes the potion will make him taller, but instead sprouts a 6-inch beard overnight. Lynde's deadpan delivery and comic timing are a perfect foil to Herman's frantic attempts to manage the hairy situation. Between Eddie's confusion, Grandpa's guilt, and the family's scramble to contain the chaos, Lynde's Dr. Dudley adds a layer of absurdly straight-faced authority that makes the episode both hilarious and charming. We've seen some great stars so far, and there are more to come. If you are enjoying this video, hit the like button and show some support for the channel by smashing the subscribe button. It really means a lot to us. John Carradine, Season 1, Episode 37, Herman's Rays. Legendary character actor John Carradine, known for his commanding voice and long career in classic horror films, guest stars as Mr. Gateman, Herman's stern and tight-fisted boss at the funeral parlor. After working long hours without extra pay, Herman is encouraged by Lily to finally demand a raise. The bold move backfires and Gateman immediately fires him. Afraid to upset Lily, Herman pretends he's still employed while secretly trying a string of disastrous new jobs, including boxer, sewer worker, boat welder, and even a stint at Tom Fong's laundry, where chaos quickly follows. When Lily discovers the truth, she personally appeals to Gateman, softening his heart. He reinstates Herman with a raise, only for Herman to return home suddenly full of swagger and self-importance. Dame DeLuise, Season 2, Episode 17, Just Another Pretty Face. Dame DeLuise was best known as a riotously energetic comic actor, with a career full of exaggerated expressions, wild gestures, and perfectly timed chaos, from Mel Brooks movies to countless TV appearances. In this Munsters episode, he guest stars as Dr. Dudley. The doctor called in after a laboratory accident in Grandpa's lab gives Herman a shocking makeover. A jolt of electricity transforms Herman's face from his iconic monster look into a normal, handsome human visage, a change the family finds utterly horrifying. Dr. Dudley's frantic attempts to treat Herman and return him to his usual monstrous self create hilarious tension, with Herman cheerfully oblivious to the panic around him. Between scientific mayhem and family overreaction, DeLuise delivers a masterclass in physical comedy. Elvia Allman, Season 2, Episode 19, The Most Beautiful Ghoul in the World. Elvia Allman was a versatile character actress, best remembered as Elverna Bradshaw on the Beverly Hillbillies. Her sharp-tongued delivery and aristocratic irritation made her a standout. In this Munsters appearance, she guest stars as Mrs. Harkness, a wealthy socialite who visits Lily and Marilyn's brand-new beauty salon with high expectations. Allman plays the role with perfectly controlled dignity, which makes it even funnier when the makeover goes spectacularly wrong. Instead of elegance, Mrs. Harkness ends up completely bald, and Allman's slow-burn outrage turns the disaster into comedy gold. Her refined manner, clipped reactions, and escalating horror steal the spotlight, proving once again that no one did flustered high society quite like Elvia Allman. Don Rickles, Season 1, Episode 22, Dance With Me, Herman. Don Rickles was best known as the Merchant of Venom, a legendary insult comic whose quick wit and razor-sharp put-downs made him a household name in stand-up and television. But in this Munsters episode, he takes on the role of Herman's no-nonsense dance instructor, tasked with teaching the giant, uncoordinated patriarch to move with grace for an upcoming parents' night dance. Rickles' abrasive, high-pressure style pushes Herman to his comedic limits, resulting in hilarious mishaps, tangled feet, and exaggerated pratfalls. Between the slapstick dancing, Herman's overzealous attempts to please, and Rickles' trademark snarky commentary, the episode turns a simple dance lesson into a riotous spectacle. Rickles' timing and delivery elevate every gag, making him a memorable and delightfully intimidating guest star. Gary Owens, Season 2, Episode 12, Will Success Spoil Herman Munster? Gary Owens was best known as the smooth, deadpan-voiced announcer on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, a master of cool delivery and quick comedic timing. In this Munsters episode, he guest stars as Dick Willett, a local radio disc jockey whose show inadvertently launches Herman's brief musical career. After Eddie borrows a tape recorder from a friend, Herman records a spirited version of the folk song Dry Bones. Owens' DJ character plays the track on the radio, turning Herman into an overnight sensation, though the Munster family hears it first and finds it terrible. As Herman grows conceited, Lily panics about his newfound fame, and Grandpa sabotages the recordings with nothing muffins, hilariously distorting Herman's voice. Owens' smooth, professional delivery contrasts perfectly with Herman's monstrous antics, making the episode a fun mix of music, comedy, and classic family chaos. Paul Reed, Season 2, Episode 21, The Fregosi Emerald. Paul Reed was best known for his work on Car 54, Where Are You?, where he shared the screen with fellow character actors Fred Gwynne and Al Lewis, a reunion that gave the Munsters episode an extra dash of nostalgia. In this installment, he guest stars as Henry J. Fregosi, the last living descendant of a Transylvanian family cursed by the centuries-old Fregosi Emerald. When Eddie gifts Marilyn the ring, a string of mishaps ensues. Herman accidentally puts on the cursed ring, causing havoc at breakfast, and Grandpa's attempts to remove the curse lead them to Reed's hidden laboratory in Detroit. Reed's straight-faced, authoritative performance as the reluctant yet knowledgeable heir provides the perfect foil for Herman's oblivious antics, Grandpa's frantic scheming, and Lily's exasperation. Between cursed rings, magical mayhem, and comic timing, Reed elevates the episode with charm and gravitas. Ken Osmond, Season 2, Episode 30, Herman's Sorority Caper. Ken Osmond was best known as the iconic Eddie Haskell on Leave It to Beaver, the sly, mischievous teenager who could charm parents while scheming behind their backs. In this Munsters episode, he guest stars as John, one of two college fraternity pledges alongside Phil, played by David Macklin, who decide to use the Munster house for a prank. Mistaking Herman, frozen in a trance by Grandpa for hiccup treatment, for a dummy. They carry him off to leave him at the Alpha Kappa sorority house. Chaos ensues as Herman awakens in the girls' room. Grandpa transforms into a bat to rescue him, and the pledge's prank spirals hilariously out of control. Osmond's straight-faced, slightly clueless performance perfectly contrasts Herman's oblivious heroics, Grandpa's supernatural antics, and Lily's exasperation, creating a comedic collision of college hijinks and Munster-style mayhem. It's amazing to see how many legends started out or stopped by the Munster household. Which of these cameos was your absolute favorite, or did we miss a star you remember seeing in the dungeon? Drop a comment below and let us know. If you loved this trip down memory lane, hit that like button and subscribe to Amazing Fun Facts for more deep dives into your favorite classic TV history. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Imagine your favorite celebrity stranded on a deserted island with a bumbling crew and no Wi-Fi. Sounds crazy, right? Well, on Gilligan's Island, it actually happened. Today, we're counting down the 10 most outrageous celebrities who got shipwrecked and survived the chaos on TV's most infamous island. Number 1. Wrong-Way Feldman.
I'm right here. You're alive? Surprised, huh?
For our castaways, hope arrives in the least reassuring form possible. A crashed airplane and its famously misdirected pilot. Gilligan stumbles upon the wreckage. The castaways realize it belongs to the legendary Wrong-Way Feldman, played with glorious bluster by guest star Hans Conried. Rescue seems inevitable, until Feldman casually admits he stopped trying to fix the plane because island life suits him just fine. The professor and the skipper immediately go to work. It's convinced science and authority can overcome one man's enthusiasm for coconuts. Parts are scavenged from the minnow, plans are drawn, and optimism briefly blooms. Naturally, Gilligan's helpfulness derails everything, including one memorable moment where removing a wheel nearly turns the skipper into a permanent island pancake. Meanwhile, Ginger deploys charm, Mr. Howell deploys money, and neither makes a dent in Feldman's stubborn contentment. When Feldman finally offers directions for finding the island later, they're hopelessly vague, confirming that even if he left, no one would ever find them again. The episode skewers blind faith in experts, proving that confidence without competence is the most dangerous thing to crash on the island. Number 2. So Sorry, My Island Now.
Surely you must have heard about the ending of the war on your radio.
Radio broke in 1942.
The series collides headfirst with history and then trips over it. While hunting for lobster, Gilligan spots what he swears is a sea monster, which turns out to be something far more alarming: a Japanese submarine. No one listens, of course, because Gilligan's credibility is not a renewable resource. Soon, a lone Japanese sailor emerges, convinced World War II is still raging and this island is now enemy territory. The sailor, played with intense seriousness by guest star Vito Scotti as Taro, immediately takes charge. Mr. Howell is mistaken for a high-ranking officer and captured. Ginger follows, and before long, Mrs. Howell, Mary Ann, and the professor are prisoners too. Taro rigs the cell with hand grenades, turning paradise into a very polite minefield. The professor repeatedly explains that the war ended years ago, but Taro's broken radio and absolute certainty make facts useless. With everyone captured, it falls to Gilligan to save the day. Against all odds, his clumsy sincerity succeeds where logic fails, gently satirizing blind loyalty, misplaced patriotism, and the idea that history can sometimes get shipwrecked too. Number 3. Gilligan meets Jungle Boy.
Well, where were you when I needed you? Skipper!
Skipper!
Anybody?
Anybody!
Don't do that.
The island delivers proof that Gilligan can occasionally be right, just never believed. Hearing strange jungle noises, Gilligan discovers a wild child living freely among the vines. When the skipper and the professor dismiss the story, Gilligan storms off to sulk, only to be joined by the Jungle Boy himself, who can't speak but perfectly mimics everything Gilligan says. turning conversations into accidental echo chambers. The Jungle Boy, played by guest star Kurt Russell, soon leads Gilligan to a natural gas vent. This inspires the professor's boldest plan yet. So raincoats together, seal them with tree sap, build a balloon capable of floating someone to civilization. The women stitch, the professor theorizes, and the skipper volunteers until gravity vetoes him mid-liftoff. When the idea of sending the boy is raised, everyone panics and abandons that plan entirely. Instead, the balloon is meant to launch alone, with a message. But the Jungle Boy overhears everything and takes off himself. Days later, a radio report reveals he's landed safely on an aircraft carrier. Tragically and fittingly, he's unable to explain where he came from or who built the balloon, leaving the castaways still stranded, once again, outsmarted by their own ingenuity. Number 4. Ghost a Go-Go. The castaways' quiet misery is interrupted when a mysterious figure begins haunting the island, and it turns out to be anything but supernatural. The visitor is played by guest star Richard Kiel, towering, stern, and about as subtle as a falling coconut. Naturally, Gilligan is the first to spot him and immediately assumes the island is now cursed, possibly by international forces. The truth is far stranger. Kiel's character is a Russian spy who has secretly landed on the island to observe American missile tests that don't exist anywhere near the minnow. His thick accent, ominous presence, and habit of appearing out of nowhere convince the skipper that espionage has officially come to paradise. The professor, intrigued rather than alarmed, tries reasoning with him scientifically, which goes absolutely nowhere. The spy sneaks, listens, and takes notes, while the castaways bungle every attempt to expose him. Gilligan accidentally gives away hiding spots. Ginger tries distraction through glamour, and Mr. Howell offers to buy international peace. Eventually, the spy departs as mysteriously as he arrived, leaving behind no rescue, no answers, and the unsettling realization that even Cold War espionage can't get them off the island. Number 5. The Producer.
Quiet! If I say you're an actor, you're an actor.
Okay, I'm an actor.
Believe me, you are no actor.
The castaways get a lesson in egos larger than a coconut tree. The skipper and Gilligan spot a plane and rush to light the signal fire, but it's no friendly rescue. The plane crashes offshore, and the sole survivor is none other than egocentric movie producer Harold Hecuba, played by guest star Phil Silvers. Hecuba arrives on a personal raft, luggage in tow, and immediately takes over the Howells' hut, turning everyone into his personal servants while promising rescue once his employees come looking for him. Of course. Ginger sees an opportunity and auditions, only to be insulted for her efforts. Undeterred, the castaways decide to showcase her talent with a makeshift musical version of Hamlet. Hecuba, naturally, discovers the production and hijacks it, insisting on directing, and eventually acting out all the roles himself, proving that no one can outshine his ego. By morning, Hecuba has vanished, and the professor learns via the radio that he has stolen the play to develop without them. That night, Gilligan can't stop singing the songs. It's driving the skipper so mad he knocks him out of his hammock. Another typical day where ambition, ego, and chaos collide on the island. Number 6. The Kidnapper.
But if I had known you were such a nice lady, I never would have snatched you. You're one of the nicest dames I've ever kidnapped.
Chaos descends on the castaways when guest star Don Rickles appears as Norbert Wiley, smooth-talking career con artist whose boat has run aground on the island. Trouble begins when Wiley kidnaps Mrs. Howell, leaving a note demanding $10,000, and instructing Gilligan and the professor to deliver it to a hollow log. Mrs. Howell is rescued but can't identify her kidnapper before Marianne disappears, triggering a $20,000 ransom demand. Ginger is next, revealing the abductor's ambitious plan to kidnap everyone and start over. The professor rules out hostile natives as suspects, and the skipper sets a trap using Gilligan as bait, which predictably collapses when Gilligan panics. Eventually, Wiley is captured in a bamboo cage, flatters the Howells, and convinces Ginger to free him. That night, he throws a party, steals the castaways' valuables, and escapes on his repaired boat. Ginger ruefully notes that this is exactly how it happened in the movie that inspired her, proving that even on a desert island, some lessons are learned the hard and hilariously chaotic way. Number 7. Take a Dare.
Oh, yes. Not seeing another human being for a week is tougher than you think.
The castaways get tangled in a game show gone wildly wrong when guest star Strother Martin appears as George Barkley, a cunning contestant on the radio program Take a Dare. While fishing, Gilligan tunes in and hears about Berkeley. Been marooned on an island for a week, survived without help. He wins $10,000. The skipper, naturally irked at the irony, leaves the fish they've caught to gather bananas. But when they disappear into the jungle, Barkley sneaks out and steals their haul. Soon, the castaways notice other items missing and assume monkeys are responsible. While searching, Gilligan and the skipper discover Barkley talking to the radio announcer on a two-way radio. They try to stop him, but Barkley is a slippery con artist, repeatedly stealing the radio, cutting fuses, insulting the Howells' money offers, and exploiting Ginger's attentions without respect. He even tosses the radio off a cliff and hides until his pickup arrives. The professor devises a clever plan to trap Barkley when a boat arrives, assigning everyone positions and calls, but Gilligan takes it too literally and fails to call out when a helicopter picks him up. In the end, Barkley discovers his prize money was hidden in the radio he abandoned on the island, and Mr. Howell has already claimed it. The episode satirizes greed, gullibility, and how even clever plans can be foiled by one well-meaning oaf. Number 8. The Hunter.
Can't you do anything right? I told you to draw me a target.
Ramo, draw a target. I do again.
Oh, no, that's all right. I'll just put a bullet right in the center of that tree.
Guest star Rory Calhoun appears as Jonathan Kincaid, a thrill-seeking big-game hunter accompanied by his manservant Ramu. While Gilligan is fishing, a helicopter lands, and Kincaid immediately decides the only worthy prey on the island is Gilligan. Disabling the radio to prevent rescue calls, he gives Gilligan 24 hours to elude him, promising to rescue the castaways afterward. Ramu tends to Gilligan, feeding and massaging him, while Mr. Howell unsuccessfully tries to bribe Kincaid. Ginger attempts to drug the hunter, but Gilligan accidentally drinks the spiked punch. Over the day, Gilligan narrowly escapes, hiding in leaves, rolling into water corrals, and generally creating slapstick chaos. Meanwhile, Mrs. Howell frees the imprisoned castaways, and the skipper and Professor hide Gilligan in a hollow tree disguised as dead wood. By the time Kincaid discovers the tree, the 24 hours are up, and Gilligan is safe. Kincaid admits he never intended to rescue anyone anyway. The close call leaves Gilligan fainting on the skipper's foot. A month later, Kincaid has a mental breakdown after obsessively trap shooting, ending up in a straitjacket muttering only, "Gilligan, Gilligan." Number 9. The Pigeon.
Well, hello. Let's see what Mrs. Hawkins has to say this time.
After a storm, a homing pigeon lands on the island, and the professor immediately sees a chance to send a rescue message. Unfortunately, the bird is injured, and nursing it back to health takes time. The impatient castaways overfeed it through the night, forcing the professor to tack on another week of recovery. Gilligan naturally names it Walter after a friend from home. Once healthy, Walter reveals he has another home, and his real owner, a skeptical man named Birdie, played by Sterling Holloway, dismisses the castaway's tale and even ignores the $1,000 Mr. Howell sends. The professor devises a plan. A photo next to the minnow wreck should convince Birdie. But first, he must retrieve Walter from the cave Gilligan has stashed him in, which also houses a giant spider. In a twist, Walter ends up saving the castaways from the spider, proving he's more heroic than they expected. They finally send Walter off, but Birdie, now paroled from the Los Angeles Correctional Institute, releases him without seeing the photo. A final mishap occurs when Gilligan forgets to attach the message, leaving rescue, like usual, just out of reach. Number 10. Little Island, Big Gun.
My name's Gilligan. I'm Jackson Farrell, Dr. Jackson Farrell.
Guest star Larry Storch appears as Jackson Farrell, smooth-talking bank robber hiding out on the island to elude the police. Farrell claims to be a doctor, helping local natives, and passes off the cash he's carrying as donations. When Gilligan discovers him while collecting dates, Farrell quickly deduces the castaways have no bullets for their guns, giving him a sense of security until the radio outs him as a wanted criminal. Farrell ties up the skipper, professor, and Gilligan to prevent interference, and refuses Mr. Howell's $100,000 driftwood check. The skipper attempts a coconut ambush, but Gilligan bungles it, while Ginger tries and fails to flirt her way to his gun. When a boat arrives, Farrell thinks it's his men, but it's the rival Indigo mob. He takes Marianne captive and forces the castaways to pose as ignorant natives. As miscommunication ensues, and the mobsters depart. Finally, Farrell leaves with his accomplices, refusing to save the castaways. A mishap with Gilligan swinging his anchor sends the stolen money into the water, leaving his gun only able to squirt water. The next day, police capture Farrell, and Gilligan is seen gluing shredded bills into a $1 million note, which he promptly tears off to share with the skipper. A classic tale of crime foiled by chaos. And there you have it, the wildest, funniest, and most absurd celebrity shipwrecks ever. Which one shocked you the most? Hit that subscribe button for more bizarre TV moments, crazy guest stars, and island adventures you won't believe actually happened.